Many Cherokee Nation artists draw inspiration from a wide range of sources, sometimes deeply rooted in their cultural heritage and experiences. Nature, cultural symbolism, traditional stories, and oral traditions can all lend inspiration to their work. Today, we'll hear from a few exceptional Cherokee painters. Osio Nagad, Jennifer Loren Dawado, Noksi Chalagika D. We'll start today's show with remarks from Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr. Then Chief Hoskin will join me here for some Q&A about our artists. After that, Deputy Chief Brian Warner will sit down with Cherokee artist Kindra Swafford. Then Cherokee National Treasures Roy Boney Jr. and Traci Rabbit will join me for a conversation about their art, culture, inspiration. It's really exciting. And finally, we are also excited to bring you a story from Candace Bird Boney. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my friend and Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. for his remarks.
Osio, the Cherokee people have always been painters. From our ancient council houses to contemporary canvases, we have always used vibrant colors and dynamic symbols to record our history, our stories, and reflect the world around us. Painting, for Cherokees, is more than art. It is a language of beauty and truth. Historically, we painted tools and ceremonial items with natural pigments from tree bark, charcoal, and clay, used in ways both sacred and practical. Over time, as the Cherokee people endured removal, rebuilding, and a renaissance, our art evolved. Cherokee painters began using Western mediums, canvas, oils, acrylics, while staying rooted in traditional themes of nature, community, and language. Modern masters like Cecil Dick, Bill Rabbit, and Dorothy Sullivan have carried this tradition forward. They painted not just images, but emotion, capturing the dignity of elders, the resilience of women, the power of Cherokee stories. Today, Cherokee painters are celebrated across the world. Their work lives in museums, galleries, and homes. Most importantly, they live in the hearts of our people. At Cherokee Nation, we're proud to support the next generation of painters through art markets, educational programs, and the Artist Recovery Act, designed to aid artists negatively impacted by the global pandemic. We know that every brushstroke is a connection to who we've been and who we are. Because painting for us isn't just about what we see, it's about what we protect and what we pass on to the next generation. Wado.
Welcome, Chief Wado, for joining us today.
Sure.
Okay, so how do paintings and the artisans that create them serve as a tool for preserving and passing Cherokee culture, in your opinion?
Well, look, paintings are something that I think everybody can relate to in some way. And if you look at a painting, you can look at it 2 or 3 times and gather different impressions from it, move you potentially in different ways. I think for Cherokees, that's really important because our culture is really rooted in emotion, what we feel about our history, what our ancestors have gone through, kind of our existing hopes and even fears about the future can be reflected in art by the artist herself or by the person viewing it. And so I just think it's a wonderful way to capture the essence of being Cherokee. And I think the more of it we see, and we see it at art shows and galleries, the better we are.
Yeah, one of my favorite places to see is the Homecoming Art Show.
Sure.
I'm always moved by the work there. So, and Cherokee Art Market, of course. And what role does the Cherokee Nation play in supporting contemporary Cherokee painters?
Well, we support the creation of art by providing opportunities to share it with the world, and that might be in the streams of commerce. So, making sure that our artists have access to art markets generally, and we provide that through a program that I'll mention in a bit, but also our direct programs, the Homecoming Art Show that you mentioned earlier. I mean, that's just a tremendous opportunity for artists to get some exposure to the public, to their fellow Cherokees. That I think is the primary way. One of the most meaningful ways I think we do though is through the Artist Recovery Act, and that's an injection of millions of dollars into our artist community to do 3 real key things really. One is to purchase more art. There has to be a demand for Cherokee art, and there really is in the general market. But I think there's something about the Cherokee people collectively acquiring art from our own artists to display it in our public buildings. That's the one part of the Artist Recovery Act. The second part is just helping with access to the streams of commerce. So for some artists, the business side, the marketing side of art isn't what they're necessarily focusing a lot on. So we can help them with tools and training to do that.
Yeah.
And we can help them knock down barriers to get to that art market that might be across the country that might open up a whole new world of opportunities for people to see their beautiful art and to get some of Cherokee culture in the form of art that they purchase or see. The last way, though, I think is the most important, and that is this generation coming up. What can we do to help inspire the generation coming up? That could be through art classes, that can be through opportunities for young people to see art in our public buildings, in our museums. And so that, I think, is the most important thing is, do we have a generation coming up that want to be the painters of tomorrow? I think we do,
Yeah.
and a great many other art forms as well.
I love it when I see a new young Cherokee artist appear at an art show, and it's really, really great to see. And a lot of that is because of what we're doing as a tribe, I think. So, is there a particular piece of art that moves and motivates you?
Well, lately, the one that's moved and motivated me has been a piece by Roy Boney. Roy Boney is a great artist. He can do things that are really funny and really make you think. This one makes you think, at least it does for me, and that is the painting of Stick Ross. Stick Ross is a freedman descendant who lived in the late part of the 19th century, who served in the Cherokee legislative body on the Council of the Cherokee Nation. It strikes me that we don't have a photo of Stick Ross, even though he was a government official. That probably says something about the time that has passed and what's happened to our records, and maybe what care or lack of care we had for somebody like Stick Ross, who was, I think, a pioneer. The fact that we have to understand his imagery through a painting is really, I think, important to us now as we're starting to try to recapture and re-examine that part of our history. Slavery, emancipation, post-emancipation, the struggle for equality that's still going on in this century. And so Roy painting that at a time when we are really undertaking a lot of efforts to rediscover all of that freedmen history and to work with the freedmen community to better understand their experience really mattered to me just to see that. And I think it's something that more people should see because it says something about what we're trying to do today in the Cherokee Nation.
Absolutely, and it adds to the conversation and deepens the conversation. Okay, but I have to know, did you get dibs on that?
I didn't. I've struck out every time on Roy's paintings, and
You are not alone.
I'm confident one day he can do a cartoon of me and then let me be first in line.
Yes, I'm sure he will. Well, Chief, on behalf of artists of all genres, let me say Wado for all that you've done to keep us feeling appreciated and encouraged. And I think the future is bright in the art world. So, Wado, thank you. Next, we turn it over to my friend, Deputy Chief Brian Warner, who is chatting with another amazing artist, Kindra Swafford.
Well, Jen. OCO, everyone. Deputy Principal Chief Brian Warner here, yet with another episode of Cherokees Wherever We Are. This is an exciting episode. This is all about the beautiful colors that are out there in the tapestries that we paint on. I am in a very important place today with Miss Kendra Swafford. Kendra, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
Well, and this is a beautiful setting here. I mean, this is your studio, and we're very appreciative of coming in. And I know the audience is waiting to hear. How did you get started, Kendra?
I've always kind of been painting. I've been doodling ever since I was a kid. My grandpa taught me, literally sitting on his lap, was painting with him, and kind of just was able to take classes in Salina, Oklahoma, and with Thomas Proctor, and went to college with it. So just kind of have been doing it my whole life.
Really? Well, and I see some ribbons and different things. So you're into the competition world and all that. But before we talk about any of that, tell me, what are some of the favorite things that you paint? I mean, like when you are actually, how do you get started? How do you, when you look at that blank canvas, what are you first thinking?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of my stuff now kind of reflects like flora and fauna of the area in Oklahoma, or in the homelands. And previously it used to be a lot of portraitures, so a lot of portraits that I would do, but COVID happened. And so I had to transition from painting my friends and painting people in the community to painting more animals and plants and everything.
Gotcha. There was something that was sent to me, a note. Tell me about, what is the glitch?
Oh, the glitch. Yeah. it's an overexposure. I do photography as well, and so I take photos of my subjects and I bring them into Photoshop, and then I just overexpose the image. So I don't know if you've ever seen something get glitched, but I try to do that and then I paint it. It can be kind of intense for some, but really love the bright colors.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, speaking of colors, and that's what my next question, thank you for that segue in. Like, what are some of your favorite colors and different mediums that you use?
Really, really bright colors. I want it to be saturated because I want to draw, not only just like adults in, but kids too, so they can like be inspired by those colors. I have a piece, it's my first large watercolor that I've ever done. Cherokee Nation acquired it for the Hastings facilities, and I wanted it near the women's clinic. And that was like my only hope, and it actually is there. I get so many photos from family members and friends and people in the community just taking photos by it because it's really bright. It's the glitch. It's my very first glitch on the larger piece.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that's going to explain a lot. And so you mentioned, though, kids. So you've mentioned grandpa, mentioned you sitting there, and you've mentioned kids. So what's your mindset around kind of perpetuating your style of art and different things? How do you do that?
So I'm hoping to start teaching watercolor classes because I want to be able to bring this back to the community, stuff that I've learned through college or classically trained, and then kind of bring it back to community. I'm teaching my niece right now to potentially, hopefully take on the mantle of a watercolorist, and hopefully just like inspire others to pick it up as well. So it's just
perfect. So you do mainly watercolors. That's it. I mean, have you reached off into anything else?
Oh yeah. So I do like acrylics. Watercolors is what I'm known for. Right. Not what I started. I actually didn't like watercolors when I started.
Okay.
And then there was one piece that I remember happening, and it was like the blossoms of the watercolor were going out, and like the colors were really saturated and bright, and it just like clicked. And I was like, this is it. Right. So I started doing more, but now I've done everything from acrylics to oils.
Okay.
I build stuff, so it's like anything from cosplays. I paint cosplays, and so it's kind of everything. I try to dabble in everything. I even make jewelry. So
that's a beautiful.
Yeah, good.
That's beautiful.
Demis class. I pick a class. So yeah, so being able to not only learn art and do painting, but it kind of guides into different mediums as well. So it's like, yeah.
How do you paint in some historical significance or cultural significance when you're sitting there and what you're doing? How does that kind of take over?
Yes. A bunch of the southeastern symbols. Upton has been one of my, or Uptana has been one of the ones that I've kind of placed in a lot of mine, because it started off with, I have been sober for 4 years now, and it was the first, I designed a piece to wrap around my leg, and it was like bringing back the power. So being able to place in the murals idea around, and like bringing power to the community, and like bringing power back to like myself when I'm also like painting them. So when it comes to like southeastern symbols, you can see them kind of motifed behind usually like the flora and fauna, or like designed into on their skin and stuff. So
well, that's awesome. What you mentioned, congrats on the October. That's very awesome. Did you find some sense of peace and healing throughout your artistic abilities?
It was like an art therapy for me to be able to I guess take those moments where it was kind of used for social settings, I guess, and be able to come back and have a peaceful moment by myself, watercoloring, or even doing landscaping and stuff, and zooming that in. So
well, that's wonderful. I think everybody's got to find that healing path, and I know in natives our culture really starts to bring us back to center. So thank you for being so strong and doing that. That's wonderful. That's a story that more people need to hear. Anybody out there, artists that do different work, anybody that sticks out in your mind?
I wrote Boney, Kelly Gonzalez. Kelly Gonzalez, I love her so much. But I think those two, for Cherokee artists, are pretty high up there. Jerry Sutton, we always talk about our color usage and how we've been wanting to make it brighter, and the combination of our culture and our art kind of meeting and being copacetic, not one overcoming the other, but flowing through our pieces. And he does a lot of nature as well. And so it's really nice. It's really nice to be able to bounce ideas with others in the community.
You bet. Well, I see all different types of art. Been blessed to be able to I'm a science guy, so I went to school of biology, chemistry. I was going to be a doctor and all these things.
Yep.
But my best class, it was humanities.
But
And my best piece of humanities was being able to identify which artist painted which painting and all the different things. And now that I've gotten around all of these native artists, I can start to pick things out and see, I think that's so-and-so, and this is somebody. So a lot of different size of paintings. How do you, what's the largest thing that you've done?
the largest I've ever done was 8 foot tall watercolor by 4 foot. So pretty large.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty
A sheet of plywood right there.
Yeah, I work pretty large. I feel like there's a lot of things I'm like, go big or go home. And I think everyone does that. It was like a moment where we're like, why can't we go big? Why, like the classics did it. Like, why can't we do it?
Right.
And so go big.
Right.
So that's why I started transitioning that into like murals and hopefully bringing murals here into town too and telling them all.
I often wonder, some people have passed away before they start to see the brilliance of their work. I just wonder how much stuff as people start to understand more about Native culture. That's the whole key, is that understanding where we come from, our community values, who will start to bud up in that world. But, kind of looking, you mentioned a piece in Hastings Hospital. Is there any bucket list place that you would love to see your art? I mean, and it doesn't have to be a Native American owned building or anywhere. I mean, is there just somewhere where Kendra was like, man, I would love to have a piece there someday?
Just anywhere?
Yeah.
Probably Smithsonian.
Yeah.
I think I don't even know why Smithsonian having a piece there, but I'm already so grateful for all the pieces because I have stuff in the clinic in Salina as well, my hometown.
Yes.
So I'm kind of just grateful.
Right. Have you been to the, I'm assuming you've been to the.
Not yet, but my family
Okay.
actually works there. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
they've been sending me pictures as well.
Right. That's really cool. Like I can remember going through one day at Winlow P and with my aunt, my grandpa's sister, and she was like, there's your granddad right there. And I called him Papa, and I was like, it was just a group of kids out in front of Peavine School. And man, it was a sense of pride though. I was like, cool, we've got something. So I tell you what, I see all types of people, and the buildings are nice, and everything. But when you get inside and the walls come alive because they know those people and stuff, I think that's a special touch that we have.
Yeah, being able to walk through and I feel like that you guys do a wonderful job bringing in those types of pieces and everything from living and now passed away artists. It brings joy, it brings that comfort, in a facility that you're probably, going in for appointments that are not so great. And so just bringing that joy is
Absolutely
super important.
One other movement I want to talk about. Have you ever done anything in reference to missing and murdered Indigenous people?
I've done a piece with Kelly Gonzalez for justice. Just justice of she's holding some scales.
Okay.
It's like a modern day Lady Justice. Right. And so I always get really nervous because I want to do it right, and so I don't want to and I also don't want to represent something that's going to trigger someone else. So it's I've been really careful. So that's the piece that I did that represented that for me. It was that women need justice. We're still here. It's something that we need to have in our system and awareness, I guess.
Well, thank you for that explanation. That is a well-balanced way of looking at life, not just through the painting, but everything.
Yeah.
If more people would kind of understand life in that way, and sometimes we may not mean a certain thing, but if it triggers something in somebody else, we need to be really aware of those things. I mean, it's all about love and compassion. Well, thank you, Kendra. It's been wonderful. I appreciate your abilities that the Creator has obviously gifted you with. And then I appreciate your ability to add that cultural sensitivity, that cultural understanding in there, but also leaning in, as Cherokees have done throughout time, into technology.
Yes.
And we're not just history, we're making history, and we're perpetuating that Cherokee way of life. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, all right, Jen, now back to you in the studio. What now?
Wado, Deputy, and Kindra. I absolutely love Kendra's work, the glitching. I have some of it in my office. I'm so excited to see what's next for her. And now I'm joined by two more amazing Cherokee artists, Roy Boney Jr. and Traci Rabbit, both of whom are Cherokee national treasures, and as we like to say, celebrities. Welcome. We're so glad to have you all here. I'm hoping this conversation can be really, just about art and your inspiration. And if you have anything to add to each other's responses, I encourage you to do so. Traci, I'll start with you. I'm going to act like I don't know the answers to these questions because I have interviewed you before, but you both have such amazing stories. But can you tell the audience when you first began to paint and the journey that your art has led you on until now?
I would say my first recollection of when I began to paint actually is first grade. That was the first little art show that I entered, and so I painted all through school. Always been interested in art, obviously following in my dad's footsteps and everything that he did. So I was surrounded by art growing up.
For those people who might not know who your dad was, can you just tell us a little bit about, who he was and how he inspired you?
Yes, my dad's Bill Rabbit, and he was a full-time Cherokee artist for over 40 years, and was became a Cherokee National Treasure in 2011, about 6 months before he passed.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And Roy, same question. What has your art journey been like?
Well, I've been painting and drawing as long as I can remember. I can't remember a time when I wasn't. As a kid growing up, Bill Rabbit actually was an inspiration. I grew up in Locust Grove, which is very near Pryor. So seeing his work teachers and other people would point out, like, that's an example of a Cherokee artist who made it. So I always had the inspiration there to kind of look at as I was growing up. So yeah, I've always just been kind of following that path of Cherokee art and illustration. And so I've been fortunate to have some success in that arena.
And Roy, you're also really well known for your social media posts. So you post a new piece each and every day on social media, which you sell. And where do you find that inspiration? And how long have you had that going?
That project started as a New Year's resolution one year back in 2012. And the idea was, well, when I was studying art in college, the idea was do practice every day to keep your work kind of flowing and your inspiration going. So I had kind of fallen off of that, and I was like, well, I need to get back on that. And so this was a New Year's resolution. I started doing it. And I did it for a month. Then that was the original goal, was 1 month, and it kept going, kept going. And as I started developing this social media following, people would start commenting on it and kind of asking, well, what's this about? And so it kind of opened up this dialogue. And then a few years into it, someone asked, would you sell that piece to me? And I had never thought about that, honestly. So it kind of went from there. And ever since, it's kind of become almost like a competition among some of the followers. I'll post a piece.
Included. Yeah, I have to.
Yes.
But, but the inspiration comes from a lot of things. Yeah, I work with a lot of Cherokee speakers and knowledge keepers, and so I have conversations with them. A lot of it may come from a project talking about Cherokee history or something. So it's kind of this wide variety. And so sometimes it's a specific idea. Sometimes it's just a spark that someone had said, like, well, this happened on this day in history or something. So just kind of small bits and pieces. But I'm always looking for those kind of inspirations throughout the day.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see every day what artwork you post, and I always wonder, like, I wonder what made what sparked that idea. Yeah, yeah, it's really fun to watch, and you really do. You don't like stockpile them. You actually do them you make them that day, right? It's for the most part.
For the most part, usually I might be ahead by one day sometimes, but yeah, it's just kind of when inspiration strikes. And the
Yeah.
part of it is a practice of a meditation. So at the end of the day, I'll go just kind of wind down and just kind of sketch something out. So it helps me in this mental health journey too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Traci, as you said, your father's work was a big inspiration for you. What are some other things that you draw inspiration from?
I draw inspiration from everyday life. I think as artists, whatever we're feeling at the moment or going through in life, good, bad, it tends to come out in the art that we create.
Mhm.
So I'm constantly drawing inspiration from everything that I'm surrounded by.
And I mean, just knowing you and following you on social media, you're just such a positive, upbeat person. You have this wonderful outlook on life, and I think that comes through in your artwork. It's like you have vivid colors and everything. Just it seems bright. Would you consider yourself like a really positive type person, or what's your outlook on that?
I would say that positivity is a choice. And I do try to convey that in my artwork. I also try to convey that in how I live my life and how I present myself on social media, because you never know when a spark of positivity can change the trajectory of somebody's thoughts or to know that they're valued or important.
Yeah.
So I find that for me that is an important role that I try to be a positive person,
Well,
an
I think
inspiration
it's
to others.
you are, and I think it really works. Both of you all are so inspiring, and it's interesting how social media has become such a big part of that. It really brings our Cherokee community
Mhm.
together. We look to you all for inspiration, really. So I want to know, as far as Cherokee culture, um, how do you connect that to your artwork?
I think through my art, it depends on the piece that I'm working on, because I love doing a variety of subject matter, probably just because of all the things that I have been able to experience in my life. But I will bring in my Cherokee heritage on certain pieces because each piece is different.
Right.
When you're in the middle of creating something, it can totally change right in the middle. You have this idea, you start out with a sketch, and you're like, okay, this is the way I'm going with this. And then in the middle of it, like, "Oh, no, we're gonna hang a hard right and do it this way." But I try to incorporate, being from a matrilineal tribe and how women are so important
Right.
and the roles that we play within the Cherokee communities and just our history, our heritage. I try to convey those messages with little, tidbits of Cherokee iconography or basket patterns, things like that. So it just really depends on the piece and where I'm at in the creative space, why I'm doing that piece.
Great. How about you, Roy?
Well, my track as an artist, when I was a kid, I was always drawing comics. I would get a ream of paper, just draw all these stories and things. And so I would, came up watching a lot of cartoons and again, comics and films and seeing there wasn't a lot of representation of, well, there were of natives, but it wasn't really positive. I never really seen any Cherokee representation in those kind of fields of that media. So I always wanted to try to inject, some Cherokee history and culture into that arena. So a lot of my work is influenced by, comic art, graphic arts. I studied illustration and design, so they got me into the syllabary as an art form because it's typography, and so I incorporate a lot of Cherokee syllabary into my work as well. Since a lot of my work is about language revitalization, so I try to incorporate there's that whole aspect of language and culture and history into the work, but a sense of some sense of humor and some pop culture twist to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I see you're always like taking a character but make it Cherokee. And I love that about your work too. What about advice for young Cherokee artists? Do you all have any advice for young artists maybe just starting out or trying to find their way?
Yeah, I think the best thing is just to make art. A lot of times you can get stuck thinking about, I have this idea, and then that's as far as it goes. If you just let it kind of sit there in your head, it's an idea, but if you don't work and getting out, you see what you have. You have to actually put it out on paper, canvas, wood, whatever it is that you're working with. But that first step of just making art, and if you make bad art, just keep making it. Not every piece is a success, and the more you make, the better you get, and it just kind of inspires you to keep uh, more different, I guess, different approaches to how you see things. And art really is a way of looking at the world. So just kind of keep making pieces, make art.
Yeah.
I would say my advice for a young artist coming up, I would like to echo what Roy said, um, is to keep creating, like he said, but also while you're creating, don't don't get discouraged by criticism because you learn from criticism. Don't get discouraged if somebody tells you it's because as artists, we've all had that happen. You have to learn to I tell people, learn how to have Teflon skin, and that comes over time, but to find that passion, to keep doing it, don't get discouraged by no, don't get discouraged by I didn't win an award. Keep on doing what you're passionate about, and you will find your way and navigate, as an artist, and you will find your path. Sometimes it takes a little bit, but don't get discouraged.
Yeah. That's great advice. And my last question is, what do you all have on the horizon? What can we look forward to seeing from you all?
So for me, I'm preparing for Santa Fe Indian Market, and then I've got a new clothing line coming out. I'm super excited about,
Ooh,
and
exciting.
so that's what's coming up. And so my show season really kicks off Santa Fe Indian Market, and then it goes nonstop until about February. So the summer, I take time off to create,
Uh-huh.
and so that's what's upcoming for me.
Okay, great. Roy?
Yeah, I will be focusing on the Cherokee National Holiday shows. We had the Homecoming show and the Holiday show coming up. I'm also looking forward to the ScostyCon event,
Yeah.
which is my work in the comics industry. I really enjoy that event and showcasing the indigenous side of that world. I also have a collection of my sketches coming out. So it's like a collection of like a coffee table book of sketches from my Sketch a Day project.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
so exciting. I look forward to seeing all of those things, really. And your clothing collection, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how excited I am about that. So a lot to look forward to. Thank you to both of you for coming and speaking with us and for inspiring us with everything that you do.
It was my pleasure. A lot of fun. Always fun being with Roy. We seem to kind of be in the same thing back to back.
All the time, yeah. We travel somewhere, it's like, well, there you are over here, yeah. So,
Well, we appreciate you both. All right, finally, we have a special treat for you. We are joined by Candace Bird Boney, who will share a story with us in front of the original works by her husband, Roy Boney Jr. Enjoy.
Osio, Candace Bird Boney Dawado, Jike e G Squaw Kolaha. My name is Candace Bird Boney, and I'm your storyteller today. And today we'll be telling you the origin of medicine and disease. Ilahiu Jikesa Sawiawa. They said it happened a long, long time ago. That all the people and all the animals, the insects, the birds, the fish, and the reptiles, they all lived together in harmony and in peace. They all spoke the same language. But after some time, humankind began to become numerous, and their population exploded, and they covered the earth, and they started crowding the animals out of their home. And to make the situation a little bit more tense, humankind began making weaponry. They started making bows and arrows, and they hunted the animals without even counting how many they were hunting. So the animals decided that something must be done about this. Something must happen to curb mankind. So each animal group called a council. The first animal group to call a council were the bears. The white bear called the council, and they held their council in a place called Kalohoi, the mulberry place. The white bear asked the other bears, "What is it that makes man so dangerous?" And they answered, "It's his weapons. It's the bows and the arrows." And he asked, "Well, what is it made out of?" And they answered him, "They're made from locust trees." So they decided that they would go to war against man. They cut down a locust tree and they made a bow out of it. And he asked, "What is the string made out of?" And they said, "It's us. It's our entrails." So one of the bears decided to sacrifice himself for the good of the bears. And they decided to take his entrails, and they made this long sinew out of it. The bears strung that bow, and they tried to pull it back and get a good draw pull on that bow. And they let it fly, but it didn't reach its mark, because the bears have these long claws and they got in the way. And so the other bears told the bear who was shooting, "You should trim your claws and you'll have a better shot." And that's what that bear did. He trimmed his claws and he pulled back on that sinew and he let that arrow fly, and it met its target. But that's when the chief of the bears said that they should stop right there. We can't live without our claws, without our teeth. We can't make war the way that man makes war. Mankind's weapons are not for us. We shouldn't go to war with man. We'll starve without our claws and our teeth. We're better off with what nature gave us. So the bears didn't go to war with mankind. The second group of animals to call a council were the deer. Now the deer were being hunted numerously. And the little deer, who was the chief of the deers, got his herd together, and he asked them, "What should we do to man?" And they said, "We will give him rheumatism or arthritis when he doesn't hunt us respectfully." So the little deer, whenever a deer has been hunted and been killed, he asks the blood and the spirit of the deer, "Has pardon been asked? Has thanks been given? Were the proper things done before you were killed?" And if the spirit of the deer answers yes, the little deer goes home. But if the spirit of the deer answers tla, no, the little deer follows the hunter home, and he strikes the hunter with rheumatism, crippling them for life and cutting short their hunting days. Now, the third group of animals were the reptiles and the fish. Now, they were afraid of mankind's hooks that he had made. And so they decided that they would send mankind nightmares. Nightmares and bad dreams of snakes intertwining around them and of eating raw, dead fish if they were hunted disrespectfully. That is why people still dream of snakes and they dream of dead, rotting fish. Now, the next group of animals, the birds and the insects, they came together too. Now, the grubworm was chief of this council. And the grubworm asked each insect and bird for a list of diseases. And they began naming numerous types of diseases. And the grubworm was happy at each and every one of them, especially when they got to the end of the list. And they decided that menstruation should be made so difficult for women that sometimes it would kill women. And the grubworm said, I am trodden upon so much. The less there are of them, the less there are of women, because women give birth to mankind. And the less there are of them, the less humans there will be. And so I'm happy that this could potentially kill them. And he laughed so hard that he fell backwards, but he couldn't get back up. So he wriggled and he got back up, and that's how he gets back up to this day. Now the trees and the shrubs and the herbs, the grasses and the mosses, they heard what the animals had done. And these plants, they were friendly towards mankind, and they thought, we must restore balance. We must balance out these diseases and these things that the animals have brought. If mankind will learn our names, we will show ourselves to him, and we will provide a cure for every disease that has been made. And that is up to us to figure out. We must be respectful to our animals, we must be respectful to the earth, and we must learn the plants' names. Wado.
Wado, Candace. And that is going to do it for us today. We hope you've enjoyed our show. Art has always played a big influence on our people, helping us to perpetuate our culture, share our passions, and cement our legacies. We encourage each and every one of you to explore your own creative side. Cherokees have no word for goodbye. We say, Dodadago ha'i. Until we see each other again, wado.